when you dig into like learning about wine, or at least from a surface level, from my standpoint, there's something about environment and timing,
Okay.
and how those two things I feel are really integral parts of like what the taste and the character profile is of the wine as it relates to where it's being grown, the amount of time it sits in one state or another. And so, and there's so many elements of winemaking and the process that's like what humans have to go through.
Okay.
I feel like in a way. I thought we would start with your environment.
Okay.
You have a rich story, bro. I love the journey that you've been going through and have gone through. And I really want to highlight what that looks like. And thought we'd just start with the beginning, just with your environment growing up in Brooklyn, being first generation Haitian.
Absolutely.
Damn, that kind of flow. First generation Haitian.
Absolutely.
Okay. And yeah, man, just start there with for now.
Well, I'm super proud of being Haitian. I think I have a better appreciation for it the older I've gotten. Not necessarily withstanding, the shit that we've heard this week, but
Yeah.
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 We're not going to go into the whole eating cats thing, but that's a double entendre.
Damn, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Haitians don't forget. We do a lot of things, but we just don't forget. But I think understanding, Haitians are a very proud people, culturally relevant, right? I think we have our hands in pretty much every industry. Now, whether we're getting accolades for it or not, that's a different question. That's a different conversation. But Haitians are definitely a very proud people. So a lot of times when I look at what it means to be Haitian, specifically in my industry of food and wine and hospitality, like we're people of service, naturally. My grandmother, my mom, my dad, my family, my cousins, my sister, my brothers, like we're all in service because that's just what it is. So I don't think it's ironic that for me as a black sommelier that I fell into service because that's all I've known, right? My dad started in a restaurant. I'm also in the same field. My mom is a nurse and teacher, educator. So there's a level of service that comes with it. My grandmother, an evangelist, my godmother, my aunt. So there's a level of service that kind of intertwines my family. So I don't think it's haphazard that I kind of fell into this space. It took me a while to get here. And it's been rewarding. It's been super rewarding. And there's more to come.
I love that. Like you wove that tapestry in the main element of that fabric, bro.
Yeah, for
is
sure.
Service.
Because if you look at, my grandmother would say, "You're safe to serve," right? So
you're saved to serve.
Safe to serve, right? So when I look at the days where I don't want to get up, when I look at the days where I don't want to do this shit no more, I realize that me not doing it means somebody can't do it or won't do it, right? And even this past week, I've had people email me, text me, call me like, "Yo, I see what you're doing," so on and so forth. So it's encouraging. It has not always been encouraging. There have been days where I was like, "Yo, fuck this shit, I don't want to do it no more." However, when I look at the references that people make to what I've done, like let's say 2, 3, 4 years, and I'm not even 10 years in to fully embracing being a som or just working in hospitality. However, when I realize, what I've come to realize is that people are watching, for the better, for the worse. It happens. People hate. It is what it is. But I appreciate the fact that there is a level of focus, of support that is important to me, and the support is what keeps you going, right? So to know that I am inspiring a generation of new wine drinkers, you know, other people who want to be Black Psalms, people who I've helped become Psalms in their journey. Like, you know, it's humbling. Like, I can't really put a dollar amount on it, but to know that when I walk into the room, I'm not just the only one. It's definitely, it's humbling, it's an honor.
One of the things that I connected with immediately in your story, bro, is this concept of purpose and how, you know, you can just move through life and do shit and have jobs and have functions and still not really be aligned with your purpose.
Facts.
And if you've never fucking been aligned with it before, you don't know what that feeling is like until it hits. Yeah. And for you, it hit at 45.
It did.
And when you describe, I'm getting because I had that moment around at my 45 period too, maybe 44-ish.
Right.
It's almost at least I felt rudderless prior to that. And I didn't know any other feeling, but when I got this idea of what my purpose is, it made everything look different. It's like I see everything through this lens of how to live my purpose or manifest my purpose through it. But anyway, not to make it about me.
I can identify with that. To speak to my aha moment, you know, I'm 46 now, so like 45, 44 is like a super big year for me. To be in Champagne, drinking champagne, ironically enough, and realizing like, yo, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? To be around people who look like me, in a space that has been life-changing. Like my life has not been the same since that trip. Granted, I was already on that journey getting there, but when, like you said, when you're aligned, you manifest, and not for nothing, I didn't believe in the power of manifestation until I started to see that I had to align my words and my actions, and they had to be kind of congruent together. So to be in Champagne, sipping champagne, learning about champagne, as cliche as it might sound, like that for me is why I'm passionate about wine right now. Like anything for me right now is food and wine. Like my friends, my family, the people who I know, what I want to do, how I want to make money, there's always going to be a bottle of something. The conversation is always going to be around that. And for me, like this is where I should be.
These kind of relationships that get disturbed when we don't take the time to know what it is to sing, to know how to get close to the mic again, or to get something. Singing doesn't make it happen, or maybe.
The person you guys are listening to is a sommelier. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Food and wine and spirits aficionado. As you could tell, the brother's fly. That's the reason why I got my frames on, because, you know,
that's what we doing?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what I had to be. You know, when you in the presence of flyness, this is the reason why you got to be around solid people, because they make you want to elevate.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't coming in here slight. The brother got on the Donnie Brasco's, and so.
Okay. I see what energy we're on today.
Father, son, just a great dude who's moving and doing wonderful things in his space. Jean-Michel.
Appreciate
Wesley.
you. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Also goes by Wes. Thank you for being here, brother.
No, thanks. I'm glad we back.
We back. We back. I was getting ready to go somewhere before, but I wanted to make sure that I highlighted you and just, you know, who you are. That 44, 45-year-old you, bro, didn't just land there. That was there's a journey of 1,000 steps.
Like more like 10,000.
Okay. I think it's important to share those parts, bro, because for me, when you are at that moment, that aha moment, it's not just that moment, bro. It's a way that the journey is synthesized for me, at least into like a singular point that just really crystallizes into this thing. And I don't think that I don't feel I would be able to really appreciate that moment without including all of that journey because it makes it just that much more worth it.
Right.
For your journey, how did you get to the wine and food space?
I mean, from the food space is easy because my dad, I grew up in the kitchen. So that was easy. Like I've been eating since I was like 2 or 3. Like my dad, chef, my mom has been in the kitchen, my aunt is also a chef. So, my family, my immediate family, like we're known as those who cook. And cooking is my happy place. Like, on a Sunday, like tonight, while the game is playing, I'm gonna be in the kitchen cooking God knows what, sipping on something good. That's just, what it is. And it's also a very therapeutic space for me. I've had some of the greatest conversations of my life around food. And then when you add the wine element to it, it's that much more perfect. You see what I mean? One of my favorite sayings that food needs wine, wine needs food, but they both need people for the experience. I mean, that's how you and I met.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Right, so, it's no coincidence that my slogan is
wine got me here.
Wine got me.
I like that.
Literally, right? So when I look at the people who I've met, who I have amazing friendships and relationships with, people who I love dearly, it's a result of a meal. Like anybody, I guarantee you, anybody, if you look at the last 100 people who I've met, they probably will say I met Wes either at a restaurant, drinking wine or food or something related to food or wine, because that's just, I love that. That's what it is, right? At one point I was gonna become a chef. I thought I was gonna do it, but I was like, I don't know. I don't wanna get so caught up in the profession that I end up losing my passion. So I decided to not do that. I was already enrolled. What a lot of people don't know, and this is new.
Okay.
That I was enrolled in CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. Like I went for the tour, I had my admissions thing, and I sat in a park in New York and I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily know if I want to do this. Because I knew that what's therapeutic for me would then become work and I would not enjoy it. Which is real. I'm quite sure if you look at people who start off on one way and they want to turn their passion into purpose, into profit, there might be some delineation.
Yeah.
If you will, right? And I didn't want to, and I knew because of how intimate food is for me, I didn't want to make it that thing and then not like it anymore. Whereas now, I cook at my leisure. If I want to think, I want to create. I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and if I'm thinking about a beurre blanc sauce that I messed up yesterday and I want to do it again, I can do it versus it being based upon table 25 in the corner who didn't like it because they're broke, and now I might lose my job. I wanted to keep that passion, so I decided to not become a chef, right? However, I wanted to work in the restaurant industry because I love management, I love the energy. So to go from my first degree in finance, the pandemic hit, I got my second degree, 2 degrees in business administration, with a focus on entrepreneurship, because I realized that, okay, I can kind of just not necessarily be my own boss, but kind of do things my own way. Small team and partner, and I love partnering, and my vessel was gonna be my networking ability. And then I had food, so I got into the food industry kind of slowly. And then one of my friends, Glenda, she's like, yo, come to this, restaurant opening with me. And I was like, okay. And I get there and I know the chef. He's like, okay, well, I need help. And that kind of started my foray as a maitre d' or host in the food, because now I was fully invested at this point. And right around the pandemic, I got introduced to wine. We were home for 2 years. On any given day, I would probably have 30 to 50 bottles in my crib.
Damn.
Yeah, I had nothing to do. So, my boys and I had said that, okay, we're gonna be home for 2 years for the foreseeable future. Like we can't leave, we can't come in and then come out the same way.
Yeah.
Right. So one of my boys is now becoming a lawyer because life changed. I went from finance to interior design to now hospitality. One of my other boys is a cop. So we all kind of just did different things, and we knew that if we're going to be in solitude for a minute, why not come out better than we left? And we did that, right? And now we're kind of just seeing the fruits of our labor, so to speak. And wine and food have definitely been my vessel for the past, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years since I've been in the DMV area. So I'm very respectful of it. You know, I treat it with a certain level of respect. And then obviously fast forward, you know, to my trip to Champagne, and it kind of just put the stamp. You know, when God wants you to pay attention, He's gonna keep you in isolation.
Yeah.
Right? So I had my aha moment, a very visceral, emotional moment. Like I was like, okay, I hear you, like loud and clear. Like, you know, as a faith believer, like you can't tell me that I don't hear God. Like I literally, like, okay, well, this is what you are. So when I get moments of unemployment, things like, yo, but like this is the path that you led me on. Like, why am I here? Like, you know, can I eat? Literally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I can drink, obviously, but at the same time too, you know, the bills got to get paid. So like, why am I here? And then I have moments that remind me why I am here. So I don't get discouraged as often anymore, because I meet people who remind me, like, okay, well, because of you, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know that the harder I work, despite taking the L's, despite, you know, the empty bottles, you know, I'm here for a reason. So I tend to have to recalibrate, right? You know, shout out to my therapist who, you know, he keeps me with the tools, and, you know, and my friends and family who are around me who remind me that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Therapist.
If there's anybody, if I was in a situation and I needed a character witness, you're gonna call my mom, my sister, my brother, and my therapist. Top 4 people. Like my therapist, like she's changed my life.
What made you want to go to therapy?
Self-development. A failed marriage. I'm a divorced father of 2. And just trying to get into a space of like not having the proverbial black man story. You know, black man, father, 2 kids, failed marriage. So I was adding on to that conversation.
You felt that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think like a year after my divorce, I probably went to like a very dark space. You know, I was back in Brooklyn, back in my parents' house. Didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do, but something had to be done. And I called my therapist, and, you know, she guided me into my spaces, and gave me the tools. And you know, and luckily I had people around me who are also in therapy who also helped reinforce those tools. You know, people who I still speak to this day. And it helped me be better. Like, it gave me clarity. Right. So, you know, I am definitely pro therapy all the way. I have been in therapy. I'm 46 now. I've been in therapy since I was 13. Because I knew early on that, you know, I love my parents to death, but I knew that I needed a different perspective. I knew that I needed to understand who I was, or what I was gonna be, or what I was doing.
Yeah.
That they couldn't see, and try to communicate. Right. So I've learned, as I've gotten older, I've learned to communicate differently. Yeah. Right. So, you know, I consider myself emotionally intelligent. Like, you're not gonna pull no fast shit on me. Like, don't manipulate me. It's not gonna work. So, and that falls into dating, that falls into business, and so on and so forth. So there's a level of transparency that therapy has afforded me, because there's a level of emotional maturity that comes with it. And it has served me well, sometimes to my detriment, because sometimes I overanalyze sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So because I have all these tools that I've been given, like, okay, well, what do I need to handle that? Sometimes it could literally, the fix to whatever I'm going through could be a drive, it could be a walk, it could be sitting in silence, it could be prayer, it could be whatever it is, but I have enough tools at my disposal to never say that I don't know how. And if I ever get to those spaces where I don't know how, I'll play some music, open a bottle of glass or something, sit on the balcony and just vibe and let it come to me. Because sometimes when you push too much, it's gonna push back, right? And that pushback is you fucking up the cheese, as they say.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, I'm more mindful of it now at 46 than I was when I was 44 and 45, because the past year has taught me to really kind of just, all right, I'm tired. Like I'm emotionally exhausted, but I need to rebuild because I can't stay still. However, staying still does allow me time to see what's going on.
And that, you saying a gang of shit, bro, that's really resonating. The acquisition of the tools is one part of the process.
Yeah.
And in this age now where men are talking about their feelings, they're going to therapy, we're doing a really good job of acquiring tools. We got a tool belt full of shit. One of the things that I feel time does is it helps you understand when to use the tools, which is a form of wisdom in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
That just time
Yeah.
has to allow you to understand that.
Yeah.
And you don't get wisdom just because you acquire all of the goddamn tools.
That's a fact.
Because sometimes the answer is doing nothing, which is a part of just sitting in it. And when you don't necessarily get that in the beginning, your first response is to, oh, go do this, go get the hammer, go get the screwdriver, go get the Phillips head.
We want to fix it.
You got to and that's where you push because you're trying to force something that
don't need force,
and it ends up pushing back and you're making it worse. And then you feel like you're doing something wrong and you go to therapy to try to get another tool when really it's just sit the fuck still.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of that. I remember I had a very, like one of my, I think I was like 41, 42. I had to move back to my parents' house after a failed relationship, and I had to start over again. And I had a moment where I started to realize that I was inviting the toxic relationships in my life. Like literally carte blanche. I was saying here, VIP, whatever. And they were people who were around me on a regular basis. And I was like, when I get upset, I cry. Like I'm really, like, it's frustrating because I'm not gonna be violent, but I know that if shit hit the fan, it's gonna go down. But I couldn't because these people are people who I see every day, people who I love, or who I thought I did anyway.
Yeah.
And then I remember calling my therapist and she was like, Wes, sit with it. I was like, what the fuck you mean? She said we knew this day was coming. I prepared you for this. You have all the tools. And I was like, but, and she's like, Wes, no, we're not having a session today. Just sit with it. And man, listen, bro. Like I felt like somebody just left me in a toilet. You know how you see kids in a park by themselves in a sandbox. And you just sitting there like this, like. What did she just say? So I got my phone in my hand and like, yo, she really hung up. And that probably was the best thing she could have did for me. Because it really forced me to identify the tools at my disposal, which were there, right? Breathing, emotional transparency, going back, identifying toxicity around me. But ultimately, I just had to sit there and not do nothing. Yeah. Because there's nothing that I needed to do because it was already happening. Yeah. Right?
That's tough. That's a hard fucking muscle to exercise.
It is. So I sat there for the equivalent of about like 8 hours in my room. And I just sat there. I didn't sleep, had music playing in the background, and I just like, okay. And I could hear what she was saying. Like, just sit with it. And I had to. And a lot of times we get to these emotional spaces, we tend to run from them, and that makes it worse. So you have to kind of just sit with it. So I had to sit with the fact that this person who I love, or these people who I love, were being toxic to me, and I had to now identify these people, what those relationships meant to me, how I could either cut them off, adjust, or just move forward because the damage has already been done. Because you can't go, because some certain situations that we tend to handle as men, because we try to be proactive and making it better, we take it from 0 to 60.
Yeah.
When it should just be like, let me just keep you at the stop sign and let's just chill here for a minute.
Yeah.
right? So that was a big aha moment for me, and it was probably, I would say, like top 5 moments for me that made me realize, okay, I got this.
Let's sit on this divorce thing for a while, if that's okay, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is my second marriage that
Okay.
I'm on.
Congratulations.
Thank you, bro. I love my wife. She's a motherfucker, but I love her. And but the divorce. When I got divorced from my first wife, I was a fucking wreck, my nigga. And I don't think there aren't a lot of, at least at that time, when was this? This was almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
And at that time, wasn't no niggas talking about their feelings and
Oh, for
divorce
sure.
and,
Yeah.
and all of this and that and the third, right?
Yeah.
But I remember for like the first year of my divorce, I was meeting random men on the train, on the plane, in bars, casual fucking conversations, dude. And I felt like I was attracting them. It's weird that I'm thinking about this now. Okay, so, and we just started having these moments where as men, we were sharing, they would share with me their divorce, and we would have these moments where we would cry, bro, and just talk about how difficult and challenging it is to pick up your pieces and move on when shit fails. And I remember at the time thinking, there's no fucking body talking about how hard it is for men.
I mean, listen.
All of these women thinking that we out here just fucking a ton of brides and doing all kind of crazy shit. And it's like,
That shit hurt.
it's, bro, at a level
That shit
that
hurt.
is unlike it. I equate it to a death. It's very
much so.
similar than to like going to the funeral of a family member, a very close family member
Very
who
much
passed
so.
away.
Very much so.
And you got to figure out how to readjust to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had pretty much the same experience that you did. I kind of felt like once my divorce was final, and I signed a paper, I kind of felt like I had a whole community around me, people who I didn't know who were going through shit, so on and so forth. And for me, like I struggled with being divorced for like a whole year after my divorce, right? I felt like I failed my kids because I broke up, the home, if you will, because I left.
Are you the one that left?
I did leave.
That's rare, by the way.
It is rare, but I got to a place in my marriage at that point in time. I just kind of felt like I had my aha moment. I was like, yeah, this is not working. Like, you don't like me, I don't like you. This is, for again, and if my ex-wife sees this, it's not to disrespect her, because I mean, she's a great mom to my kids. She's married now. I'm happy for her. I wish her the best. But I know I fucked up because I was not the best version of myself at that time, right? I could have been, but again, I just didn't take the lead. I was more so on partnership than leading, right? And even to now, I want a companion and a partner. And if I decide to get married again, some days I want to, some days I don't want to, but I know that I don't want to be alone.
I got you.
Right? But yeah, so getting divorced put me in a weird space, man. Like I felt like I failed my marriage, my family, my parents, my siblings, because I was the first one to get married out of my siblings. So I was gonna set the bar, but it didn't happen, and I just didn't. The way my marriage was, and this is not the wedding, right? This is the marriage. Like let's
Understood.
be clear.
Yeah.
The wedding is one thing, the marriage is another, and my marriage was just not. The effort that needed to be made on my part was just not there because I didn't know any better, right? There was not enough communication, and we can go down.
Understood.
The rabbit hole of why it fucked up and whatever it was, but I just knew that it was not the best situation for either one of us at that point.
Did you ever talk to your pops, bro, while you were in it? Because I don't know why I'm thinking about this shit.
That's a good question. My therapist asked me the same question after my divorce, because like she was the first. My therapist was the first call I made after I signed my divorce papers, and she said to me in our session, she's like, "Yo, do you talk to your dad yet?" My parents are still married, by the way. My parents have been married almost 45 years, And I did speak to my dad, and my dad was like, listen, you could do one of two things. You can either cry or be cold. Because he knew that I was the more emotional one between him and I. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna tell you, like, you can't be emotional about this shit right now. You don't have time to be. You don't, if you wanna cry, cry in your corner, but you can't tell the world that you're crying and you're being broken at the same time. And that's what it was.
So the dissolving of the marriage happened over time. Did you ever tap into him and be like, yo, Pop, I'm struggling with this. How the fuck have you been doing it for 30 years?
He saw it before he knew it. Like my pops would check in pretty much on me and my ex-wife. And my dad, when we'd have conversations, he'd be like, yo, this is like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like my dad is very transparent, very outspoken, you know, very OG Haitian West Indian man. So my dad definitely was like, you know, he and my dad and I got closer as when I became a father and a husband. And to this day, like if I don't talk to him for a couple of days, like he'd be like, yo, I ain't heard from you, like what's going on? Are you good? Let's tap in, check in. But no, my dad had a pulse on who I was becoming in my marriage. So he would tell me. So when I told him I was getting divorced, he was not surprised.
So he had you had his support, not like, yeah, you fucking up, you fuck, you know.
Oh no. He was on some shit like, okay, well it's done. You can't cry over it now. It's done. You're not going back. And I wasn't going back. And he was like, yo, listen, you could do one of two things. You can cry over it, or you're gonna get through this shit. Like it can't be both. I mean, you crying is gonna be more detrimental at that point. Not him not advocating for me being emotional. He just saying, listen, right now, your emotions have to take a pause at this point, because what you're about to go through in the next year, and he was absolutely right, it's gonna fuck you up. Because I was in that emotional space. So I couldn't cry. You know, shit's gotta get done. I was moving in a different pace at that point, and he was absolutely right. So I took my dad's advice. I was like, all right, you know that song by Usher, I got an ice box where my heart used to be.
No,
Usher got this song with it's called Icebox with him and Omarion.
Okay.
And there's a line of the song that says, I got an ice box where my heart used to be, and I had to be cold.
You still there with that?
As far as my divorce,
The ice box.
No, I can't. I mean, I can't, because that's not me.
Okay.
Like my overall, it takes more energy for me to be a dick than for me to be a natural person. Now, do I have to fuck with you? No, I don't have to.
Right.
You know, so as I've gotten older, protecting my peace could mean not going to certain spaces, not being around certain people, in a home, vibing, hanging out with you, chilling, talking, whatever. Yeah, I don't. It takes too much energy. It takes too much energy for me to have an ice box. Now, can I do it at a drop of a dime? Absolutely. Do I need to? I haven't had to be an ice box in a minute.
When I do it, bro, I feel so bad after I do it.
I do too.
Because I feel like, how the fuck did I make? It's not that I blame the person. I blame myself for relinquishing. I'm self-aware enough to know now that it's all on me.
Yeah.
And when I'm getting better at extending grace to myself for doing it, especially with my, being married, bro, has a proximity to another fucking human being, bro, that nothing else just has, right? So you hitting all kind of shit on a frequent basis. Yeah. And sometimes I land on that code a little bit longer than I should, as does, my wife, but we figure it out. But when I do land on it and I stay there a little bit longer, I fucking hate that feeling. Cause I be like, God damn it.
No, and it's funny you say that, because I'm a Scorpio, right? And it is easy for me to be a dick. Like the way the stars are aligned, like it comes to me, but it takes a lot of work. And because if I lock in on being a mean person, number one, karma is real, right? And number two, if I get fixated on being a mean person to you, you will not like me.
Yeah.
Right, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm currently in a space right now where not that I need to be liked by everybody. However, being likable has its benefits.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Whether it's dating, business, whatever it is, I just don't. However, sometimes people just try you and they want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
And it's easy to take on that switch, easy. But for the greater good, I tend to not go that route.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So like you said, I extend grace. I pray, I meditate, and sometimes I just be quiet. You know, and a lot of times, like I think even in dating or just with the women that I know in my life, me being quiet doesn't mean that I don't like you. It just means that I just want to talk. I just want to be, I enjoy your presence. I could have you there, but sometimes just being quiet is beneficial for me. I'm in my head, and sometimes I don't want to think. I suffer from insomnia because my mind races too much, and I'm trying to find methods to cope to at least average more than 2 to 3 hours a night of sleep, right? But it's real because your mind just keeps going and going and going. So I just try to find ways to cope, to be a better person every day.
So let me ask you, bro. You said even before you sip, even before you smell, even before you taste, you pour.
Yes.
What part of your life would you say is the pour?
That is a dope question, bro. I think like shit like this is my pour. Like just being in a space, having dope conversations, being in great company. You know, the pour for me is my give back. However, in the past couple months or even past year, I've been learning to pour my glass first. And it's not me being selfish, it's more so let me taste the fruits of my labor before I kind of give it to everybody else. Whereas before I put myself on the bottom of the list, right? There are some exceptions where, you know, I will pour for people first, but my intuition now, or my habit, if you will, is to pour for me first.
A part of the pouring that I imagine in your process, one of the things that sommelier is French for wine steward, right? And you are a sommelier.
Yep.
We're going to get into what that means, but education in this space is very, very fucking important to you.
Yes, it has to, yeah.
And to me, that's a part of the pour, to just even prepare yourself so that you can be of service to these black faces in these white spaces of wine and service. Why is it important for you to be that?
Because I can't walk into a room less than. That's the best answer I got.
So when you go in, you want to be you want to have put in the work.
No. I am putting in the work. It's different.
Right. But I'm saying, but when you walk into that room, the idea of less than more so is for about you personally proving to yourself that you did the work.
No, not only that, knowing that I put in the work to be in the room, right? Because if you look at our industry, there aren't that many black sommeliers out there. I think the last time I checked, there's probably anywhere from 2 to 5%. Right? It's definitely a white male-dominated space, right? So my studying, my sipping, the amount of money I spend on wines, education, yada yada yada, prepares me to be in those spaces, right? So when I walk into a room, and I know I'm a personality, I could either be that dude in the room, I could be a fly on the wall. You know, I have that flexibility, you know, and I'm confident in that space. So I don't walk with a certain arrogance. However, I do know that when I'm in a space, I'm gonna have a conversation with you, and I can teach you about wine. You know, I mean, I don't boast myself as a wine educator, but you know, I can. If we had a petition about did wine with Wes teach me something, yeah, actually I did, because I mean I did the work. I do the work so you don't have to, but I do enough work so that way if you want to do some more work, you can. You see what I mean? So when I look at what being a sommelier is, by definition, yes, it is a wine steward. So I don't drink wine for a living. I select and curate experiences. Right? You know, I had to redefine it because my mom thinks that I drink wine for a living. I'm like, Mom, no, that's not what I do. She's like, well, you can't be drunk at work. I'm like, Mom, no, I sip and spit, right? So I think, yes, by definition, a sommelier is a wine steward, right? But I think the more defined definition of it is I select, serve, and curate wine experiences, right? You know, I could build a wine menu. I could do event planning. So there's a lot of different things. I manage expectations and curate events and curate experiences, if you will, right? So when people ask me, do you drink wine all day? No, some days I don't want to drink wine. I want to have a glass of, I want to have rum. Like I have rum in my fridge right now because I was in the mood for it. But I do know that for me to evolve my palate, it's like a muscle. Like I have to keep on drinking, right? Do I get drunk once in a while? Absolutely, right? However, I do know that to elevate an experience, there is a level of transparency and intimacy that comes with the experience, right? And that requires me to be on top of my game. So I have to be able to have tasted this varietal, that varietal, speak about it, producers who I speak to on a regular basis and whatnot, and allow you to have an elevated experience so that way you can enjoy. My goal is to make other wine drinkers, black, white, or indifferent. I mean, granted, I would prefer to see more black wine drinkers, and we do spend the money on wine. However, I want to see more educated wine drinkers.
What is the importance of expanding your palate? Is it almost like the broader the tasting, the more references you can draw from when you're making recommendations? Is it like, I'm trying to understand. Obviously, you're not tasting a bunch of wine just for the fuck of it, right?
No,
you're
very intentional.
Okay, yeah. What are you attempting to do when you're tasting a variety of wines?
One, educate myself, so I can identify, notes, tasting, so on and so forth. Educating, to be able to also educate others, right? And also to have a good collection, if you will. Like for example, I'm a sneakerhead. Like I can tell you, I probably have anywhere from 50 to 100 pairs of sneakers in my closet right now. And it's not that I want one style, but I know what style fits and what works.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So for an occasion, I know I can pull out ... sneaker for that occasion. For a dinner that requires 4 or 5 wines, if I see the menu, I know I can pick 4 or 5 wines for that menu. So for me, tasting is just more so having, it in my Rolodex, if you will, and to be able to refer to my heavy hitters, if you will. What's going to shock value. So I can either do one of two things. I can shock you, appease you, or introduce you to something different or something new, right? So when I do wine tastings, I do one of those 3 things, or all 3 at the same time.
So we got 5 senses.
Mm-hmm.
Taste, touch, hear, see. What's the other one? Taste, touch, hear, see. Hold on. I'm fucking slow today.
Smell.
God damn, Wes, how you gonna let me go that long, brother?
No, I was sipping, my bad.
Taste, touch, hear, see, and smell.
Yeah.
Wine covers
All
taste, even hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, because what I wanted to go with at is when you're contemplating a menu, are you accounting for the C portion, meaning the environment where you are, the lighting, and all of that stuff, in addition to like the background? Do any of those elements contribute?
Yes. Yes. Let me answer the first question first. Yes, right? Because environment does play a huge part of the wine experience. How wine is stored, lighting, darkness, and so on and so forth, protection. Because if you put a bottle of wine and it's not protected properly, it's never going to give you the full essence of what it is, right? If you have your wine sitting on light for 24 hours a day and the wine gets cooked, it's not going to be, the producer's intention for you to enjoy the wine experience is failed. So for me, when I curate wine experiences, I take all those in consideration. So all those things come into play, all senses come into play. Right, so I'm very much, when I'm in that zone, if you will, environment, music, I have a standing playlist to kind of set the atmosphere and people come in. A lot of times people come in hot, they run it from this to this or whatever. So I'm intentional with the music as well, right? So, but again, bubbly makes everything better. So I definitely, my goal is to definitely have a glass of champagne in everybody's hand when they're around me.
You have completely, 100% changed my perspective.
I told you.
On bubbly, bro, on bubbles, whatever the fuck. I know champagne is just, because listen, I can't remember. You know what I think I like?
Mm-hmm.
I like your relationship to it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, is it the excitement that I get?
It's the intensity and the appreciation that you have, and I want to have it. And so it's really weird to say because
This is interesting to hear. So I'm listening.
it's not like I'm trying to be like you necessarily, but one of the things that excites me. I want to know what other people's relationships to things are. Regardless what the fuck it is, right? And so when I see someone seeing something in a very unique way and that orientation gives them a relationship to it that's unique, I want to try to experience what that is too, if possible.
That's interesting. I think my appreciation for my love for champagne, right? When I was younger, popping bottles was a thing. You be in the club, you got a dime, yada yada yada. So early on in my life, if you will, champagne was always celebratory. And the older I got, in my aha moment in champagne at 44, 43, or whatever it was, like every day is a fucking celebration, bro. Like I woke up this morning, you see me? So
that's a celebration.
Why not celebrate all those moments? Like I don't need a formal celebration to pop champagne. I mean, do I appreciate it? Yes. Am I gonna open it properly to make sure that I don't get popped out 5 yards over?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy the integrity of it. I enjoy the stories behind it. Because every bottle has a story. Every bottle, right? So when I get a chance to meet winemakers, champagne producers, and hear their story, it makes me enjoy the bottle of that. Because if you could visualize what I feel when I pour, imagine having the person who actually made the actual wine tell you their story, and that makes you appreciate it more. So for me, I try to convey that message all the time and still be excited about it because I'm like, yo, this shit is really good.
And that's what I connect with, the story.
Yeah.
I'm connecting to your story of your love for champagne when I think about drinking champagne. And since I heard your story, I can't think of champagne and not think of Wes. I just can't, bro. It's a fucking impossibility.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
And yeah, it's fucking dope. Cause it's like, why do we have to wait to celebrate? You woke up this morning.
Yeah.
Let's get some fucking champagne. And let's get the Brute Tour while we're at it.
I mean, listen, it could be a Friday night. I made it through the week. Let's celebrate.
And speaking of celebration, we do have some bubbles.
Of course, we got a little Frank Pascal Tolerance, Brut Rosé, a little bit of pour. Definitely a dope producer, which I definitely enjoy.
Any more in there?
Of course.
Thank you, brother.
I got put onto this producer a couple of years ago, and I've had everything that they make. Like it's like they can't do no wrong to me. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
So again, I mean, certain days, I know who my heavy hitters are. The bubbles that I enjoy. And some days I just want to experiment because there's always a producer coming out that I've never heard of. So I'm always going to default to champagne first, always.
Have you? I'm great. No, this is my brain, right? So. Ghostface, Camé. What should I, when you think about that idea of being in the spot and just chilling, listening to that song, what's your favorite sneakers? Like you Nike, Adidas?
Oh no, I mean Team Nike.
Team Nike. Were you Jordans or?
Give me Air Jordan 1s.
Okay.
Give me Air Max 95s.
Some Air Max 95s.
Yeah.
Cause
Slime greens.
Yeah, right.
Slime greens.
At a joint, chilling. You got the Donnie Brasco's on.
Yeah.
You know, and Ghostface Keme's in the background. What do you envision sipping on?
Oh, I'm like I'm a huge fan of Ghostface. Ghostface and Raekwon. That's funny because I was playing Incarcerated Scarfaces on my way in here. Like, that is my favorite Raekwon and Ghostface track. But when that comes on, like give me a bottle of bubbly. You know, I want it nice and chill. As a matter of fact, I don't want to open it. Just let it just sit. Let it get the temperature for a minute. Give me a bucket. Let us just sit. Let it get chilled. And then when the hook comes in, that's when I'm pouring it, right? So I probably would have a Louis Roderer 243 collection to Ghostface Game. Like, that's a vibe. Louis Roderer, if you know, is also the producer of House of Crystal. But that's been, like, when I was in Champagne, I got introduced to it. So I have a personal relationship. Like, I knew exactly where I was when I had my first sip of that. And I also remember when I first heard that Ghostface track. So I know, like, there's a parallel for me. However, it's one of those wines that it has to be a perfect temperature for you to really enjoy it, right? Just like, just listen to that track. You have to have, like, if you know it, like when that beat drop, all right, it's time to pour. Because you have to wait for the beat drop. Let it sit, let it chill for a minute. And then when it comes in, boom. That's a vibe right here.
What's the deal, boy?
I see. It's just a vibe, bro.
What fabric is that? It's only rolling rayon, lipstick, crayon, fly, Fahrenheit spray on. I'm getting tipsy. I hope she be like a gypsy.
Ah, shit, I'm playing, bro. Fuck negotiating. Is you with me? Is you way to speed us carrot from making? Plus, she don't eat turkey bacon. I don't get down like that.
I don't get down neat with Cuban link Caesar. Why you acting like a rep teaser?
I'm like, curious change.
Plus ranger. Use small change, only Figaro chains.
Analyzing Miss Claron. Send me down mascara on. Assistant manager at Paragon.
It's that, I think, I mean, that's what's his name that's doing the hook.
Teddy.
Yes, I mean, once Teddy P come on, you already know it's sexy vibes.
Sexy vibes, bro.
Sexy vibes.
Panties popping. That's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, music plays such an adamant, important part in wine and hip hop. Shout out to Jermaine Stone, who is, you know, the god of wine and hip hop, right?
A word?
Yes. Like if you wanna follow somebody who is doing the thing with wine and hip hop, Jermaine Stone, aka Thanos, we call him. That's my guy.
He got the 5 rings?
Listen, he collecting rings at this point.
Okay.
Right? But I think, you know, as black folks, when I think of us in the wine space, we are, and I said this to you earlier, we're culturally relevant. Like, we're gonna put elements of who we are in every single space. Like, I was at a wine tasting yesterday. We was doing a fucking, you know, slide in a wine store because we are a vibe. Like, that is what we do. Like, we are the vibe. Like, that's it. The culture don't move. The culture don't move without us. We move needles. That's what we do. You see what I mean? So whether it's in a wine space, champagne bar, whatever it is, I'm gonna find a way to incorporate my blackness in every fucking space. Me being Haitian, every single time. I'm gonna play compa at a wine tasting because that's who I am. That's what it is, right? So when we look at cultural relevance musically, like there's a wine, I'm sure, for every situation. I mean, whether I gotta find it, I gotta buy it, I'm gonna find a wine for a vibe. And that's just what it is. Because ultimately, the whole experience, my job as a sommelier, in addition to selecting and serving wine is to curate a fucking experience. And music is a huge part. Like I have 2 playlists on my phone, champagne playlists for my champagne events and a chill vibe, because I know certain music, certain songs evoke certain emotions. And I want to make sure I don't get to cry too hype with a, Don P sitting on the crib, whatever it is. I mean, so you have to make sure it's relevant. But at the end of the day, like my job is, again, is to make sure that you have a good time.
Speaking of our cultural relevancy, just in general, what is it like, bro, being black in the wine space?
Hard as fuck. Exclamation point.
What specifically?
There are many times when there are many rooms that I go into, many restaurants that I've served at, that I'm the only black sommelier in the space. And I'm thankful now that there are more like me who I can refer to and lean on, who are OGs in the game. Some days are better than others, right? Because a lot of times it's a pissing contest when you come into a space where you're the new guy, right? And it requires a bit of finesse sometimes, right? So knowledge is power. So it's you get into those spaces, and I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, because I don't feel that, because I don't subscribe to that. I want to be my authentic self in any room that I go. Whether it's me wearing Air Jordans with a suit. Yeah. You see what I mean? Like just me being my authentic self in certain spaces. However, I'm gonna talk about wine. I know a lot of brothers out there. Derek Westbrook in Chicago, dope dude, samples and samples. Like his platform is music and wine, but he knows mad shit. So like I follow him and see, how he's curating experiences. Jermaine Stone, who I mentioned earlier, Philippe Andre, who just was nominated for Person of the Year, Wine Enthusiast. Like he's a Haitian dude and he's been doing this shit for a minute. And his path is one that I identify a bit more. 1, because he's Haitian. 2, because he started in a restaurant and he's doing these great things. So for me, when I see all those happening, it's doable, but I also want to make a unique experience at the same time.
Breaking into a space is challenging. Mm-hmm. And I think we lean heavy on like our cultural that's what we have, right? That's our wedge. That's our value proposition, right? In a lot of ways. In addition to being great, checking all of the boxes, I got this motherfucking thing that don't nobody else got when I walk in that bitch, right? So, but you don't want to be known for that per se. You really just want to go in and say, "Hey, look, I'm not a black sommelier. I'm not a black person in this space who's own this shit. Right. I'm just a motherfucker in the space who owns this shit."
Yeah, but is
that a goal, or is it?
It's twofold. It's twofold. Because there are certain times where early on in my career, I did have the chip on my shoulder. I'm a black sommelier. Hear me roar, right? But that was more of a detriment. So now, 2 years later, I'm a sommelier who happens to be black, right? And it is all inspiring for other people who are in the space to see. Oh, wait a minute, you're a sommelier. Okay, cool. It works.
What was the detriment?
The detriment is that I was becoming arrogant. I'm a black sommelier. And it's fine. There aren't that many others. And shit, like you see my skin tone, like I'm black. Like there's no argument about it. So I didn't have to necessarily shout it out to the rooftops. It is what it is. And you can see me being a chocolate chip in a white, in a vanilla setting.
So you were being redundant, kind of like
pretty much, right? So it took a conversation with the OG in the game, like, yo, listen, like you doing too much right now, like chill. Go back in the corner, do your studies, drink your wine, and just pop out here and there. Like, there's no need to shout from the mountaintops who you are, because once you walk into the room, we already know you're the only one, right? So when you walk in certain rooms and you're the only one, a lot of times you don't want to be wrong and strong in those spaces.
You look wild as a motherfucker when you do that.
Yeah. You mean, like, when you become wrong and strong, like, you can't be humble, can't nobody tell you shit. You're not learning because you're arrogant as fuck. So, nigga, pipe down, like, chill. So I was like, all right, you OG and you clearly have been watching me. Let me go back, recalibrate, and come back. And that's what I did. So let me just finesse this shit a little bit and make it my own, but also too appreciate the knowledge that I'm getting from being in this game. Because you don't gotta be in these rooms. Whether I'm invited, whether I pop up, I'm still gonna be authentic in my same space. However, because I'm also somebody who was black, I represent everybody coming behind me, so I can't fuck it up for them. And some days that cross to bear is hard as fuck.
So I just had an idea. Mm-hmm. I want to know what you think about it. Environment and timing, and even just talking about the wisdom of when you're acquiring the tools, like your life in a way could be a bottle.
That is a very good analogy. I respect that. I mean, because if you think about the pressure that is compressed in a champagne bottle before it's released, right? I mean, you've been sitting on that for a minute and you're just waiting to explode for the world to hear. I mean, the sound of popping a bottle is still synonymous with celebration.
Yeah.
And we want to be celebrated, right? However, you don't want to spill no juice because you want to keep that shit. So there is a proper way to open a bottle without compromising the integrity of the wine you're going to spill. So there's that part of it from a personal perspective, professionally speaking, right? I don't want to compromise who I am once I'm there in that space.
But you also don't want to force, when we were just talking about
Right.
the wisdom of the pushing.
Right. So if we look at if we look at wine in its totality, whether it's still or sparkling, the longer it sits, it gets better with age. The saying fine wine, like it gets better with age. Black don't crack, it gets better with age. Like we get better with time. And I'm at that space right now where I'm okay putting a bottle that I've been wanting to drink for a minute. Let me just let it sit because I know in 2 years it's gonna be better. And I know in 2 years I'm gonna be better. So let me just sit, chill right now. Let me do my due diligence, work, study, sip, taste, pop out here and there, still be in the back cave doing my thing. And then when it's time for me to come out and show, all right, let me show you niggas what I've been working on because I've been sitting and I'm ready. And then boom, you do it again.
And that's the beautiful part. And I can't remember the sister's name that you mentioned who was recommended just do the work.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Julia Coney.
Just do the work.
Just do the work.
Like, just do the work.
Just do the work.
Nothing beats work.
Yeah, Julia Coney and Tonya Pitts. Tonya Pitts, who is also an amazing somm out on the West Coast. Yeah, she put me aside and she's like, yo, I see you, we need you, but you gotta do the work. Right, so doing the work means transitioning, drinking dope shit, stop drinking the trash. No pun intended.
Bro, tell me what the fuck is trash. Now, so let me, I'm gonna expose myself a little bit.
We gonna go there?
So we got Wild Iris Rose. We got the Ripple. We got the Rock Gut. We got all of that shit. Mm-hmm. When you say trash, now I'm imagining what the fuck you are imagining is trash as a song.
Right.
What is trash?
I mean, so when I first, without naming names, right? Because we're not getting paid for
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There were sub-quality wines that I enjoyed because I was a novice to the game. And as my palate got better and I started reading, I realized that okay, I can't drink those things. However, I also realized that certain wines are gateway wines to being seasoned wine drinkers, if you will, right? And sometimes I see it, I'll see it in the store and I just chuckle because I knew I was there. And once in a while, when I'm feeling, hood-like, I might pop a bottle of
Barefoot.
I ain't say it. But yes, Barefoot was definitely one. Barefoot was probably my eye-opening wine because my ex introduced me to Barefoot actually, and she introduced me to a Shiraz Grenache blend that I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? See what you mean? It's like, this is the good shit. I'm like, nah, there's something else going on here. And so I went into the back cave, looked at what Shiraz was. It's also called Shiraz, see what Grenache is, yada, yada. So I started to go, and the beauty about wine is that it's a forever ending rabbit hole. And I went in. So I became friends with the owner of the wine shop. And I was like, yo, I like this Barefoot Shiraz Grenache, but I want something different. Can you give me a Shiraz wine and a Grenache? He's like, oh, let's go to the back, because that's where the good stuff is at. I was like, oh, wait a minute. You got the good shit in the back? All right, my guy, let's go. And that was the turning point for me to graduate from Barefoot and now elevate my wine game, right? And again, Barefoot is the gateway wine for a lot of people, black, white, or other, right? And for me, it's a staple. So when I see it, I laugh. It's like, yo, listen, I fucks with you because you got me where I'm at right now. You see what I mean? But now graduating to having significant and important relationships with winemakers who grow Shiraz, Syrah, Grenache in their vineyards, and they're giving me the story about like why this is trash and why winemaking practices are the way they are. I can call a wine trash because now I know better. Whereas I'm not calling wine trash because it's a trash wine, because your practices are trash or the product is trash. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what's in the bottle is what's going to sell.
So, and that was what I was going to ask you. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing you speak. I'm hearing you lean heavy on story, and I understand that because like that does create value in not necessarily, may not necessarily be in the wine world, but to novice people,
right?
You know, I could take a pair of Gucci shoes, a pair of Payless shoes, and put them in a Gucci box, and somebody be like, "Man, them are cold." And then the minute you put them in a Payless, is there any similarities to that in the wine world?
There probably is.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's definitely a level of probably imposter, if you will, because I mean, it's a fad, right? If you don't know, people buy wine because the label looks pretty. People buy wine because of a recommendation, or people buy wine because they want to try something new.
For a novice who knows absolutely nothing about wine, and I go to the store and I see 55,000 fucking bottles of wine, what is a good marker to use to pick a good wine? Is there?
Ask the wine. Let the sommelier at the wine shop do their job. Let them
but don't pick don't use the label to pick.
Not necessarily. I mean, labels it's a marketing point. Like some labels are there to catch your attention, and it could be a great wine, or it could be a bad wine. But I think that's the role of the sommelier at the wine shop or at a restaurant. Like, okay, well, let me ask you a question about this, that, or the other. Like, let them do their job for you, because their job is to empower you to become a better consumer in that space, right? Or like, yo, Wes, let me FaceTime you real quick. I'm at the wine shop. What you think about that? And there are sommeliers who have that service. Like, if you text me what you want, I'll charge you a fee, which is cool, and I'll give you recommendations for it. Or go to wine tasting. I mean, a lot of wine shops have wine tastings on premise to have you expand your palate. But at the end of the day, if you're working into a wine shop and you have absolutely no fucking idea what you want to get, I would absolutely trust the winemakers who are there on site, if they are, to guide you. But what I often recommend to novices is to do one of two things. Pick a region of wine that you're curious about and explore that region. So let's say Mendoza. Mendoza is known for Malbecs. Explore all the wines in Malbec, or take a grape and explore that grape. Let's say Pinot Noir, and taste Pinot Noir from different winemakers. They're gonna taste different, but you're exploring, and then that's how you kind of refine your palate in that sense.
As I'm hearing you talk, bro, or even as I imagine what the fuck it is that you do as a heterosexual black man, I be thinking about, how could I leverage this shit to be more marketable in the arena of opposite sex interactions?
I don't have to.
But is it challenging for you?
What part?
That's a good fucking question, because that's a clarifying question.
Yeah,
and you, because I know you want to answer, but you want to be specific with your answer.
Yeah, what part?
I like that. So let me specify. You specialize in things that are very popular with women.
Correct.
And I am imagining those skills being very attractive to women.
Correct.
And there is a part of that that is your job, as a part of your passion, and is a part of just your function as a partner, as someone you do when you date.
Right.
How difficult is it for you when you're dating someone or meeting someone for the first time with managing expectations around like how you show up as a person of service? Air quotes. And like, this is my job, this is passion, and this is what I do, but I might not be necessarily feeling you in the way that you think I'm feeling you, because
It's
does that make sense?
no, it makes perfect sense.
Okay,
It makes perfect sense, because I think a lot of the women who I've met as a result of what I do, they want that same experience when they get home. Right? Not realizing, and you and I spoke about this before, right? Not realizing that at the end of the day, I still have I have people to pay. So I'm going to be hospitable. However, Wes personally, Jean-Wesley, Michel, the person who I am, I'm also hospitable, right? So there is an element of my person who I have to transition to my profession, right? However, my lady who's waiting for me at home is gonna get top-notch service. She's gonna get white glove service because I love her. You know, I want to make sure that she gets that. But she will know the difference between Wes working and Wes, the man at home.
How does she know that difference?
Because she's my person. Anybody who's aligned with you will know the difference between who you are as a person and a profession. Granted, there will be a gray area because the two have to overlap, but everybody don't get top tier service. And they should.
Well, hold on for a second. I want to make sure that every woman you date probably don't know a sommelier or a person who works service.
Absolutely.
So how do they know that? Like if they used to dating salespeople or finance people,
right,
their norm. So if I cook for my wife, something's fucking special.
No, agreed. No, absolutely right. And I think that like the women who I meet, they meet me in the capacity of being at a restaurant, a wine event, so on and so forth. You know, I get hit on all the time. At the same time too, if I'm there for work and I'm not checking for you, and it's hard to not check for women because, you know, I mean, the women are, you know, it is what it is, right? However, if I'm fixated on that and like, you got my attention, then okay, there has to be a switch.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, there has to be a switch because, you know, granted, you know, if you meet me in that capacity, you're gonna either assume that I'm like this all the time, or you're gonna think like, yo, wait a minute, you can't be this way all the time. So I want to see what you are differently. So let's get away from that perspective, and that's and my person will know that I'm different in that perspective and not be offended by it, right? So, you know, a lot of people who I know, a lot of men, for example, who I know who are in the industry, they don't marry or date women in the industry because it becomes one-sided.
Say, what does that mean?
9 out of 10 guys who I know who are either somms, restaurant managers, beverage directors, or in the wine space don't marry people in their industry. Their wives are either nurses, doctors, engineers, yada, 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 right? Because it becomes one-sided. If I were to marry somebody or date somebody who is also in my industry, we would have very little to talk about because all we would talk about would be work, in my experience, right? However, anytime I've had conversations with women who are not in my industry, it becomes expansive. Like we can talk about, yo, how's your day at work? How's my day at work? Let's parallel, let's build. Okay, well, what's your management style? What's my management style? So we can have conversations that, you know, evolve over time and it's not one-sided. We're not talking about just food and wine and hospitality, right?
Do they feel a certain way about, is there any insecurities present?
Yes.
With how you be at work? Cause like,
absolutely. I've had women tell me, yeah, you too friendly with her over there. You gotta chill. And I've had women call me out like, yo, like you're doing the most right now. Like just chill.
Have you ever felt that way with a woman that you dated in the industry? That she was doing a little too much?
No, because I've never dated any woman.
You've never dated an industry woman?
Nope, I have not. I have friends who are in the industry, and we talk about different styles and dating and so on and so forth. But I have not dated anybody.
Who has it harder dating in industry? You think, men or women?
That's a good question. I'm not even sure how to answer that. I would think women might have it harder because, again, they're the attraction, right? I know for me as a sommelier, oftentimes I'm the only black person in the room, so I get that attention because of the fact that, again, I'm a black somm in the space. So when you come into a restaurant, you see me there, you're like, wait a minute, oh shit, let me talk to him.
Yeah.
And again, my goal is to touch tables and so on and so forth. So I tend to attract more conversation with black consumers or black patient or black guests, if you will, or black clients. Because like, wait a minute, hey, how you doing? Like, okay, I want some wine. Oh, wait a minute, you're a sommelier. And that conversation becomes more and more relevant because there's an appreciation for it. And a lot of times I've had clients who have become friends because they go, wait a minute, I've never seen a black sommelier outside of a movie. And, so on and so forth at that point. But I think to cap your question, I think any black man who's a sommelier right now who doesn't date somebody in the industry, when they come home, they want the support. Right? We're on our feet from anywhere from 10 to 16 hours a day. And sometimes we just want some thighs and some hips to rub onto.
Okay. What does support look like, bro?
That is a great question. Somebody who knows that when I come home, I don't want to talk about work. Like, how you doing? Or if I come home, as soon as I walk into the door, you can tell my energy is fucked up because I had a fucked up day. Like, support me.
How good are you at expressing your needs when you're in a relationship?
I am transparent to a fault.
No shit?
Yeah. I've been told, I was told recently, like, Wes, you're aggressively transparent. And I was like, what does that mean? And she said, you're honest, but because of how non-filter I am, it could hurt.
With your needs?
Yeah.
Because I struggle with that, bro.
Struggle with what part?
Expressing my needs.
Like, listen, I mean, one of my exes told me years ago, if you don't advocate for yourself, who will?
I struggle with it.
And then you're always gonna be behind the eight ball.
My wife and I, a part of what I am learning in my marriage is, how do I say it, is advocating for the space that I need. And when I think about the act of doing that, bro, it takes me all the fucking way back to 5-year-old James.
Right, so advocating for yourself, for what you need, shouldn't be a threat to your relationship.
But what I'm learning is it has absolutely nothing to do with the relationship.
It does.
It's an issue that I have because I've always struggled to advocate for myself.
Yeah, but the reason why it's going to become an issue in a relationship because you're a member of said relationship.
Understood. I see what you mean.
Right?
I see what you mean.
So, case in point, I like my alone time. I do. I'll go for a walk, clear my head, come back, go for a drive, take the long way home. And it's not that my home is not what it should be, but I want to come home to something. But I also want to make sure that I'm in the right space. So when I come home to something, it's not friction because clearly, if I haven't been home, you've gone through your shit as well. However, I should be also allowed to say, you know what, baby? Yeah, we can't do this right now. And you not feel away because I just want time and space. It doesn't take away from what I want to give you, or what I want from you, but it just means that at this moment in time, we can't have this conversation right now because I'm not mentally, emotionally there. And tone is important, words are important, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
However, if you feel threatened by the fact that I want space, or we can't, or let's put a pin in this right now for later on, then that's a different conversation, a different problem. Because that basically means that you're not respecting and not supporting the fact that I want to not be in certain spaces to accommodate you at this moment in time. Not saying that how you feel is not important. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that where I'm at right now will not be conducive to the atmosphere that you would like to have right now. So if you come with an issue like we should talk and okay, I get that. We can't do this right now.
I received that.
So for you to flourish as a member of your partnership, advocating for yourself will change the tone of said relationship because she's your partner. And if she loves you, she shouldn't feel threatened because she's gonna see the growth because she doesn't want you to respond in a way that's not conducive to the environment that you're trying to set.
See, I don't think it. I think she wants it. I think I 100% think that I would get whatever the reaction is that I am looking for. It's just, like I said, the reason why I'm going back to the 5-year-old, like this fear is old, and it's not it has absolutely. I don't think it starts with like some early childhood shit. Because when I start thinking about it, it's like I used to didn't want to tell my family that I was hungry.
Right.
And I go sit in a corner, bro. Anyway, it's a long story, but it's we're talking, yeah.
I mean, if you get to a space where you learn to advocate for yourself, it does come across as a selfish act, and it's not. It's just empowering your voice, right? And if she loves you and cares about you, she'll listen to you and she'll help you through that because she will receive it. And that's what it is, because at the end of the day, you're gonna learn to protect yourself against anything. To my point earlier, I've learned to start serving myself first, literally and figuratively, before I serve anybody else. Because a lot of times when I serve everybody else first, I don't get the dope bottle. So let me pour myself first, and then y'all can have what I'm doing. Because then now I get to lead by default in XYZ situations. So, and that's also a silent part of learning how to advocate for yourself as well. It does come across selfish. It can come across selfish. But advocating for yourself also means that you're protecting your peace.
These varieties of wine come from varieties of grapes, right? And a part of being a sommelier is understanding the origin story of these wines, of these grapes, the conditions that they're grown in, and that sort of thing.
Temperature. Terroir, location, uphill, downhill, limestone. Like we can go on and on about the varieties or the different factors, if you will.
Based on what you know about the variety of grapes in the world, which grape would you say best defines you and why? What are the similarities?
I would say Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is one of the 8 grapes that is made for Champagne. So even if a Pinot Noir is not, so we have Blood Noir, which is where Pinot Noir is the dominant grape for Champagne. And Pinot Noir by itself, just as a still wine, is versatile. It's food friendly. It could be a rosé, it could be in a Champagne, it could be whatever it is. So I think the versatility that Pinot Noir has is very much on brand for me as a person and also as a somm, because I've had to be flexible in certain situations. I've had to show up as a Champagne, I've had to show up as a rosé, I've had to show up as a Pinot Noir, or I've had to show up at a barbecue and just chill. And Pinot Noir does offer that flexibility in that space.
What environment is the best Pinot Noir grape grown in?
That's a dope question. Right now, I am a fan of Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley in Oregon, and that atmosphere and temperature is conducive for growing it. Like you want the skin to be perfect to give you the grapes needed for a Champagne. You want it to be perfect to give you a still rosé. You want it to be perfect, but again, it has to be just right so that when you get the color for a rosé, you have enough of it. right? So when I look at West as a Pinot Noir grape, if you will, it offers all those things because it allows me to be a catalyst or to morph, if you will, into different forms, but still maintain my structural integrity, if you will. So to be able to be a champagne and still wine at the same time and offer different experiences, Pinot Noir would probably be dope for me.
What's next for you, man? I know what are you, level 2?
I am a level 2 WSET, right? I am debating on, I do want to specialize in Italian wines because I've been in my Italian bag lately. And then 2025 will be my champagne year. Like I'm focusing strictly on champagne for 2025. Like my goal is to be a champagne master, the first black one in DC, in the DMV area. Like that is my hope, my prayer. That's what I'm working towards, and I'm putting all my energies and efforts into that because that's what I want to do. I love champagne. It excites me. I get aroused by it. I love it. It always puts me in a good mood, and I love the atmosphere that goes with it.
You mentioned the last time we talked, Dom Perignon P2.
Baby.
2003, 2004.
Absolutely. Like that, like those were two of the best champagnes I had last year.
So we're gonna put a pin in this motherfucker right here. And then when you become that champagne master,
okay,
we're gonna come back. We're gonna pop a bottle of that P2.
Oh, so don't tempt me with a good time, my guy.
And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna fellowship, brother, and we're gonna do a part 2.3 to just talk about that. And I appreciate your time, man. You are, to me, a force, bro. There's something about you that has this don't stop. When I think of you, I think of a tree that is constantly growing, looking for the sun.
Okay,
That's what pops to my head. And like, no matter what path you gotta take, you're gonna get to that fucking light.
I mean, listen, man. It's the journey is not always easy, right? So I look at, we talked about what my summer looked like earlier off camera. But I'm looking forward to the fall. I'm looking forward to the fall for the trees changing, the season changing, and there's a beauty that autumn offers that people don't appreciate, and I look forward to it. So I'm looking forward to the last quarter of this year. I'm doing some amazing things in wine, partnering up with some dope producers, if you will, and taking it from there.
Where can people find you, bro?
Wine with Wes on social media, on IG, Wine with Wes on Facebook, and my website, winewithwes.com.
And what got you here?
Aha, wine got me here.